I you did you see for the split second the excitement on my face? I'm like, what? No. Thor is in it though.
God of Thor.
They do a great job of making Thor like a big boy.
Oh, like
He's
he was in Endgame.
a little bit, yeah, but a fresh take on him. It's good. It's good. So, yeah, God of War, it's good. Paul, I I don't play video games as much as I used to. I was playing them a lot for a while, but all I do now, Ben, is generate AI imagery. That's it. That's it. That's all. I watch TV while I do it sometimes.
That's your
I
hobby.
do.
That it's your identity at this point.
It is not my identity though. Nobody knows except for you and the people who listen to this podcast and my loved ones. I don't I don't have a social media presence anymore. And in the indie RPG communities, I don't talk about it yet because I am afraid that there are going to be people on there who are mad about it, and I don't want to be there. There are people out there, Ben, that do the AI generated images thing, and they want people to say you're an actual artist, and I think that this is the same as art. I don't have that need because I've already done like actual art. Oh, I just said actual art. Sorry, people who make AI generated art.
You're
But you know what I
part of the
mean.
problem now.
Like people like like my biological dad, who's a painter. Like that's his job, right? And there are people that make fan art for people on that. And not that my biological dad is part of the indie RPG community that I was just talking about, but you know what I mean. I feel like I
No,
have
but
not run into.
his
Sorry, go
job is
ahead.
a your dad's job is a painter. Like what kind of a painter?
My biological dad is a he runs a gallery. He does paintings for, like, he did paintings for Kraft, the macaroni and cheese plate people. He made
Yeah,
like a big, like, gigantic canvases for them to hang in their offices
really.
and stuff. Like he's a legit painter guy. uh,
That's what they call it in the business.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why, quite contrary, when we're drawing stuff on the board and all that, you might have remembered me saying this. I just going, we're this is not
Right.
his standard of, but he does some very cartoony stuff. It is interesting. There is some crossover between my style and his style,
There's
which is interesting.
interesting footnote on our video for your dad's band song "Quite Contrary."
Oh,
Is
is it
that
is it that they got taken down by?
didn't get taken down, but it did get flagged on YouTube as being under copyright.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking about which, Ben, which Ben, evil, pointy hat, makes potions. There is now finally a lawsuit that might affect AI generated art, but it is not about AI generated art. It's about something else. This is a segment. Can you tell me what this lawsuit that may affect AI generated art is? You can ask me questions. I think this will be a 20 questions kind of thing,
Yeah,
but they have to be
because
yes or no questions.
I have absolutely no idea, having paid no
Also, is
attention
is
to this space whatsoever.
Steven isn't on right now, is he?
No. Do you think he would know?
Okay. This- I think he
So,
might know. But go ahead and ask me yes or no questions.
all
This
right.
is going to be
So
fun.
my internet cut out, so I'm assuming this is just a standard Ben gonna guess the news. The topic is there's a lawsuit that may affect AI art. Now,
Right. And
um,
what we've decided it's almost like 20 questions. It is 20 questions. Ask me questions, I'll say yes or no.
Well, I don't want this to go the entire show. There's going to be a time where I'm just going to come out and say, just tell me what the freaking lawsuit is.
Yep, that's usually how these things end.
Does this
You and
lawsuit
me.
have anything to do with... So it does have something to do with the AI art generating websites, i.e. Midjourney or any of the other ones where people go. It will affect them specifically.
It will. I'm going to say no, but I'm already breaking my rule because the no is misleading. This lawsuit won't affect them directly, but it will set a precedent that will affect them.
Does this lawsuit involve using AI generated art for commercial purposes? Like
No.
in marketing materials or in advertising? Does this
No.
does this lawsuit involve...
Oh, and I'll also say, Ben, there's something that you didn't recall necessarily that I think I need to tell you so I can steer you back on course. This lawsuit does not talk about AI art at all. It's not about AI. The lawsuit is not about AI art.
So wait, so
I
said,
will
my
set a
internet
precedent.
cut out, so I missed some of the setup to this segment. So restate the question, sir.
That's okay. So there is a lawsuit that is happening right now that could end up affecting AI art and the way that AI art is could affect the sites that are doing it right now, the AI art generation thing. But the lawsuit itself is not about AI generated
Okay,
art.
that's the part that I didn't get.
Yep.
Does this lawsuit have anything to do with intellectual property?
Yes.
Does it involve the intellectual property of any one person or organization? In terms of...
Are you saying a specific person?
Yeah, like is this the estate of...
No, it is not.
Okay. But it does involve intellectual property.
Yes.
Is it in the, like, would I find an article about this lawsuit in a magazine that might be titled Modern Art Today?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Just tell me what it is. I'm not going to get it.
Oh, okay. So it is a lawsuit against IBM and GitHub over the product known as, I don't know if it's IBM exactly, but GitHub is a subsidiary or something like that of IBM.
Oh.
It's over a product called Copilot. Copilot is an AI generated coding service. And what the lawsuit alleges is that this coding service scraped code off of GitHub. So people who had little programs that were doing stuff that were stored on GitHub got their intellectual property, their code, scraped by a bot that then was used to train Copilot to teach it to code. So that, now it knows how to code based off of the work that these other people did. That's what the lawsuit alleges.
Right.
And one of the issues that people have with AI art right now is that art is being used to train the AI art service how to make art.
Right.
And up until this point, the contention has been it's just learning. It's not actually storing these images. It's not actually pulling data from these. I mean, pixels and lines and curves from the specific images. The images just taught them how to make curves and how to fill out color and stuff like that. So the the artwork itself is not from that art, and therefore it doesn't matter if it's under copyright or not, because they're not using the copyrighted image. They're just learning from it. If this lawsuit goes through, it will set a precedent that not only is the material still under copyright, but the thing that you've made off of that material has violated the copyright because the stuff that it's learned is still considered in the program or considered in the data set, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge, it's a possibly huge issue because all these data sets that have trained the like Midjourney Stable Diffusion, all the ones that aren't tied to a big corporation, which is interesting. All the ones that aren't tied to a big corporation all of a sudden won't have rights to the data that they used. And the courts will say you have to either pay the people whose data you used, which they can't do because it's billions of different pieces of art. So even if you paid them, a penny, that's still for a research group, that's still untenable. You would not be able to pay that, right? Or shut down. And so they just shut down. And lo and behold, then all of the places that aren't major corporations doing AI art shut down. And then you can only get it from like Getty Image and Shutterstock and all the places that already have rights to large banks of images.
It's probably going to be spun by these corporations as the democratization of AI art, even though it is completely the opposite, where I can just see this happening where it's like the media monopolies, how it's sort of like information is free because we control it. AI art generation is for the people because all you have to do is come to our website, pay however much a month, and we'll let you make this AI art. And the little guys, the people who actually innovated in the space, get nothing.
The people that brought this lawsuit up actually said this. They said, you forget, of course, the innovations that come out of this thing. You actually make better products for people. Spotify, this is what they said. Spotify is only around because Napster got shut down. If Napster got shut down, there wouldn't be a Spotify. And I didn't use Napster. I don't use Spotify, but I have to think that the people that did use Napster back at the time when they were using Napster wouldn't necessarily say, hooray, now I have Spotify. Right? I'm sure there are things about Spotify that they don't like how they have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the idea, is that, I figure this is a golden age. I've said it before. It's like Paul's Boutique. Paul's Boutique, when the Beastie Boys made it, they sampled Led Zeppelin and all this other stuff. And there was some estimate of how much you would have to pay if you were going to do that now.
Yeah.
I wonder if they ever did. It seems like a Beastie Boys thing to do, that eventually they went through and paid retroactively the samples and stuff like that.
I mean, that's certainly a Weird Al thing to do. I don't know. I've not followed the Beastie Boys' character as much as I have Weird Al's.
So the main thing, though, is that, again, my Giraffe and Elephants content is in the data sets that are being used to do this thing. So technically, I guess I would get some of that money if they ever made it. But have you ever gotten money from a class action lawsuit, Ben?
Yes, I have. It's not even worth going to the bank.
$1.87 or whatever. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Exactly. If I had a choice between that or keeping this program that I like using up, I would like to keep the program up. But like most anything, I'm not in control of it. I'm just going to have to deal with whatever happens. The article I read was from November 8th, so recently. No new information about it. But the other thing, and the thing that is a little bit crazy, is that Facebook and Google also have scraped information in this way. And so, people are like hurrahing because, if this lawsuit goes through, then they're next. That's the idea. But I feel like, I don't know, there's just something in the back of my head that tells me that Google and Facebook will probably be fine. I don't know why. I
Well,
feel
I
like,
mean, it's interesting. I mean, I'm pretty sure Google will be fine, but I've lately I've heard nothing but horror show stories coming out of the metaverse, and that Zuckerberg
really?
has spent on the order of billions of dollars to make the metaverse a thing, but it's been such a failure. They've even had to go so far as to force their Facebook's own employees to be in the metaverse, whatever
Yeah.
being in the metaverse means right now. Um, and yeah, so and Facebook, I don't know if this is a global number, but they're laying off 11,000 people.
Wow. See, I feel as though, and I think we've even talked about it here on the podcast, but I feel like the metaverse is similar to when you give yourself a nickname. Like trying to make the metaverse a thing was very much that.
Much like
Um,
the snow we got today, it didn't stick.
oh, hey, check this out.
You
you
have
you probably can't see.
hands.
Look at my hands, right?
Yeah.
Um, look at my pinky sizes. Can you see that one of my pinkies is smaller than the other one? Here, I'll line them.
I
I'll line them up.
couldn't.
Okay, look at my pinky nails.
Well, now how do I know the bottom parts of your pinkies are lined up properly?
No, 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 no. Just look at the nails. See how one is smaller than the other?
I can't really see from this angle.
Oh, this is great. This is great podcasting.
Great
By the
audio
way,
content for anybody who's just listening,
yeah, yeah,
because nobody's watching.
yeah. My left pinky is smaller than my right pinky.
Oh, you're a defective human. Gotta throw you back.
Oh no, it happens. So yeah, it is interesting. Like I mentioned before, when I'm on these forums, we have uh, people from all over the world of varying levels of maturity, and it's always a little crazy to hear about the things that people don't know about. Like
In terms
today,
in the world of AI art or just global news in
no, no,
general?
no. Normally, it's something completely different. Like someone drew a picture of or generated a picture, didn't draw it, generated a picture of a guy with a beard and like breasts, and it was supposed to be the Big Lebowski, and they said this gave him big bellies and a big belly and breast for some reason, and somebody wrote maybe he's pregnant, and somebody else laughed at it, and then somebody else wrote just a reminder that men can get pregnant, um, and somebody was like, what do you mean? And they're like, trans men are men, and then somebody else wrote, um, hey, let's not get political on here. And then the person who said trans men are men said, how is trans men are men a political stance? And it just got crazy. Um, but it was interesting to me because there's a thing that I'm just not used to. I'm not, and I know this isn't me being Pollyannish or whatever. I'm just not used to it. The idea, a couple of people wrote, um, I should not have to have these conversations here. the idea that the person had
These are the
was
mid-journey
you,
forums.
yes, you, the person saying that trans men are men, um, should not be talking about that here. It was the person who said, uh, as far as I know, men can't get pregnant. So it's all okay. Everything is fine until they meet an opinion that they don't like, and then they're like, "Why are we talking about this stuff here?" And I realize that that's a thing in the world and all that, but I didn't realize that it still existed. I thought of the internet as being the Wild West where everybody talks about everything, and then I realized why. I finally realized why it was that like that. It's because in Discord there are still moderators, and people can still get kicked off for their behavior. And the reason the person didn't want to talk about it was because they knew that if they continued talking about it, they were going to get banned for hate speech, kicked off.
Yeah.
And so that's why they said, "Hey, let's not talk about this here. This is
Yeah.
I want this to be a nice place."
It doesn't surprise me that conversations like that, on regardless of what forum, will start to spiral out of control.
I mean, it is still interesting. I couldn't figure out why I kept Discord around when I quit the other social media things, but I think that's really what it is that there are still visible mods. The moderators are actual people, you know.
Right.
Whereas in TikTok, it's nuts.
It's
You'll get in trouble, and it'll say, this is a copyright violation, and then it's for something that you made, so you say this isn't, and then it goes away, and that comes back, and they say, well, we looked at it, we investigated ourselves, and found that we did nothing wrong. That sort of thing. So that's number one, right? And
Yep.
then number two, somebody uses a slur, and you send it to the mod queue in TikTok, and you say, "Hey TikTok, this is a violation." Or somebody, just says boner pills. Click this URL, and you say, "Hey, this is spam." And then they look at it and they say, "This is not spam." And you're like, "Well, why?" And then you go back and they've already deleted it. So they have enough automation where it can be exploited, number one, and seems weird, number two. And I think that's why I stopped, because it just drives me a little nuts.
Because you
Makes me
couldn't
feel weird.
you couldn't make any money selling your boner pills, huh?
I stopped getting revenue from all the boner pills I was selling, Ben. The tricky thing is you have to give the pills to your boner,
I know.
which
Orally.
you can lead a horse to water, Ben, but
You can't make them buy boner pills.
I've been sticking it in this jar and it hasn't eaten any of them. I don't understand what's. So
Put 'em
anyway,
under my pillow.
skirting the line of we have not said anything bad, or have we? So let's steer the conversation towards nicer topics, like
Come
the
up with a nice
Ukraine-
topic.
what's going on in Ukraine, Ben? I don't know right now. Anything new?
It's weird because it's Ukraine. The war, Putin's war, is what some are calling it. Have kind of slid
Ooh.
off the front pages just because it's been so long. It's no longer the hot topic.
Yeah.
Last I heard that Kyiv, the capital city of Ukraine, this war has illustrated a couple things for me that I didn't know. In that calling it the Ukraine is bad.
Yeah. Did I say the Ukraine? By the way,
I don't know, but I
don't think I did.
I was watching a TV show recently that was.
If I did, I apologize.
It was filmed about 3 or 4 years ago, and they were saying the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, 3 or 4 years ago, I probably would have said that too. But also the name of the capital city, it's spelled Kyiv, And for the longest time, I always thought it was pronounced Kiev.
And people
But
did pronounce it that way.
people did pronounce it that way, but Ukrainians call it Kiev. And the reason
Kiev.
you shouldn't call it Kiev is because that is saying it with a Russian accent. And that is sort of like the Russians asserting their dominance over the Ukrainians.
I think I mentioned this before, but I once worked with a man from the Ukraine. Oh, jeez.
What did we just say,
said,
Paul? What did we just say?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I apologize, and this story is not going to make me any better. I apologize.
I
to
punched
any
him in the
Ukrainian
face.
Listeners. No. I worked with this man from Ukraine, and I said to him, I was talking about how the Russian space program was in some ways superior to the U.S. space program. That they had some firsts that the U.S. didn't, and that cosmonauts, were brave people. and eventually, he just said, "I understand what you're saying, and that's good, but you keep saying Russian. I am not Russian. I'm Ukrainian." And I was like,
did you think he was Russian, or what did you
I
know
thought he was Russian, yeah.
going in? Okay.
Oh, I said the Ukraine instead of Ukraine. I felt bad. Yeah. So here's a question for you, and I don't know. This is an episode called "Okay, Ben, go ahead and look it up," because there's no one here to tell us anything. Are there Ukrainian cosmonauts? Were there any Ukrainian cosmonauts? I'm going to say that I think there were.
According to the Google, there were 4.
Can you name them?
I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. I apologize for that. Leonid Kadenuik.
Does it also say what they did?
No. Well, I mean, I could probably look it up. This is just a list.
Yeah.
Leonid Kadenuik was the first astronaut of independent Ukraine who flew into outer space. He flew on NASA's Space Shuttle Columbia in 1997 as part of the international mission STS-87. Kadenuik held the rank of Major General in the Ukrainian Air Force. So this looks like he was an astronaut and not a cosmonaut.
Yeah.
Pavel Popovich was a Soviet cosmonaut. Popovich was the 4th cosmonaut in space, the 6th person in orbit, the 8th person and first Ukrainian in space.
There we go.
Yaroslav Pustoyovi, he looks like he's wearing an American he's in front of an American flag, so he's an astronaut, not a cosmonaut. But he was Ukrainian. And Yuri Romanenko is a former Soviet cosmonaut, twice hero of the Soviet Union. Over his career, Yuri spent a total of 430 days, 20 hours, and 21 minutes, 30 seconds in space. They counted it down to the second.
Wow.
So yeah, it looks like this short list that Google brought up when I Googled it: 2 cosmonauts, 2 astronauts, all of Ukrainian descent.
More than a year in space.
Yeah, that's
I mean, cumulative, but still.
I'm wondering if it was cumulative or if it was all at once.
I believe it. I believe it was.
He remained on Mir for 326 days, so almost a year.
Almost a year.
That was the longest
That's
stay
good
in
enough
space
for
at
me.
the time. Yeah.
Hey, look! All you got to do is stay for another 40 days. Please, no.
There's a story of these 2 cosmonauts who were in, I think it was Mir at the time when the wall fell
Oh,
and Soviet Russia was no longer, and so they were the last Soviets in the world because there were no
wait,
longer any Soviets in the on Earth.
the wall fell. Are you talking about the Berlin Wall?
The fall of the Soviet Union. I guess I
Oh,
used
okay,
the wall falling as sort of like a metaphor for all of
gotcha. Yeah, 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 yeah.
communism
Yeah,
going
because
away.
I think Mr. Gorbachev tear down that wall was about the Berlin Wall, right? I believe so.
Yeah, because East Germany was communism. You could not escape it.
Yes. Jennifer actually lived in Germany while that wall was still up, which is interesting to think about. I mean, the fear of going over there, that I had as a kid, even though I wasn't
Yeah.
in Germany at all, but just the idea of crossing the wall was an actual thing.
I remember watching a movie as a kid where it was like a harrowing tale of an East German family who were doing everything they could to cross the wall, and the climax of this film was them actually like climbing the wall. It was either climbing the wall or tunneling underneath it, probably climbing it. And like at one point not knowing whether they had succeeded or not. And like the father, they're like crawling through this riverbed or something, and a soldier finds them and points his gun at this family, and the father's like, "Don't shoot us, for blah blah blah. Is this West? Is this the West?" And the soldier's like, "Yeah, this is West Germany." And like that's the end of the movie. They made it.
Yeah.
They succeeded where others had failed. But as a kid watching that, you're going, this sounds like a horrible situation. Communism is bad. It's propaganda. Communism is bad.
Did you ever see Gotcha?
Probably not.
Anthony Edwards, I believe is his name, from ER.
Yes.
Glasses.
And Revenge of the Nerds.
Anthony Edwards is in it. He's a student who's playing this assassination game where I don't know if you had that on your campus or not, but basically you're an assassin. You get a picture, and sometimes you get a class schedule. But your job was to shoot somebody with a dart gun, like a plunger dart gun, not an actual dart gun. But so this movie was about a kid who was involved in something like that, played by Anthony Edwards, who then gets involved in a real spy game. And I remember the thing about it was that he got through a checkpoint, and I think it was at the Berlin Wall, but I'm not positive. He got through a checkpoint because he dressed up like a goth punk kind of guy.
Okay.
And it struck me when I was a kid. Oh, there's no way that would be good enough. They would probably make you take your makeup off and stuff. I don't know if it's true or not. I do remember, and I think I mentioned this to you at one point in time when I went to Canada. I stayed for 5 months. They kept me at the border for a very long time. Like they totally searched my car inside and out, and
When you were
all
coming
sorts of
home
stuff like
after
that.
5 months?
No, when I was going to Canada,
When you're
so
going
the
there.
Canadian government, yeah, searched all my stuff and all that. When I came back, I wasn't driving. I went on an airplane. I sold my car and went on an airplane to Seattle,
Hey, that's
and
where I
and
am.
that's yeah. Troy Lund actually put me up in his house for a little while, which was pretty cool. And
And then you
then
got that apartment downtown, which I walk
yeah,
past every
my
day.
my friend KMO set me up in an apartment. Um, and then eventually I was able to start paying for it myself. And and then we met during that period of time where I'd started
K
working for Amazon.
KMO fronted you money for that apartment?
He did indeed. Yep.
Wow, that's
I
a
eventually
good
paid him
friend.
all the way back.
That's an even better friend.
Yeah. Um,
I trust he
yes,
didn't
he and
charge
I
you
do not see
interest or
eye to
anything.
eye politically all the time. And that's all I will say about that. But
No,
he is still
I actually
a
followed him.
pleasant enough guy.
I followed him on Twitter for a short time, but had to unfollow him because I didn't want to. I wanted to retain nice memories of KMO.
Yeah, yeah, it was really kind of weird. Um, and yeah, so the weird thing, and I'm just reminded again, going back to the forums. It is weird when you meet someone who is completely outside of your sphere of just what reality is in
Yeah.
general. Like like I understand, I would say, I understand that someone who doesn't know the basics of logic might think that this thing is true. But when you're someone who I know knows this sort of stuff, like how to make a cogent argument and how to gather evidence about things and stuff like that, and you believe something that I have found to be incorrect, it's more difficult for me to deal with, basically. And that was
Like the
I'm
afterlife.
yeah. Well, I mean, Ben, we've already talked about this. I have irrefutable proof that there is an afterlife because I've died so many times.
In
And
fact,
of course,
how do
anyone
you know
watching,
this isn't an afterlife?
well, this is an afterlife. I know because I died previously. Have we talked about last
Yep.
Thursdayism before, Ben?
Well, you're still in the tank. Um, have we? I don't know if. I mean, I'm sure we have. I just don't remember that it was called the Last Thursdayism.
Last Thursdayism is something that I find great, but I think it's flawed, and I'll tell you why. People say last Thursdayism. How do I know that the world wasn't created last Thursday?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
And I've just all these memories are implanted. The idea that I have, and the one that I kind of hold true, is that anytime you think about thinking, anytime you actually are like, are these memories real? All that, you have snapped into a situation that might be a last Thursdayism. Until that point, everything up until that point could have been a fabricated memory. Even now, this whole podcast, I'll have evidence of it, but who's to say that? And this is why again, the simulation is so um, tantalizing for people because it's easy to wrap your head around. How could they replace everything? Well, because everything is false. So anything that's real can be remade easily because everything's false.
Well, it's also. I mean,
Easy to think.
it's. I guess it all depends on who or what is doing the simulating, right? If all we know are what's capable of this simulator, then the simulator is only creating what it can, and that's our reality. That's like, there's a Annex Theater poster over here. The simulation can't, do the poster realistically, but yes, it can because it put it there in the first place. The actual reality outside of the simulation is probably a lot more fantastic than what we could imagine.
I mean, the way that I would think about it is this, right? Everything in your room that you see, all the stuff, right? They're all physical objects. That's one reality. So you've got that Annex poster, right? The Annex poster is there. It's a poster. You can see it, right? If you focus on that poster and you're like, how did that poster get there? You know that this wall wasn't generated with this poster on it like 5 minutes ago. It's been there for a while. You've seen the poster. You might even remember the show that the poster was from, and all that. You have all these different memories, right? So the idea is that memory is a layer on top of a physical object that gives it more reality, more meaning than just the three-dimensional space it is. it's in. It gives it a four-dimensional
Which is, I
thing.
think, why dreams are so convincing. Because if everybody just experienced dreams like, that's not my mom, this isn't my house, they would get out of it. But your brain
Right.
creates these false memories for you inside the dream to sort of like, I don't like, for whatever reason, who knows why. But yeah,
False memories and also an air of nonchalance. You look
yeah,
down and you're wearing socks, you're not wearing shoes. And it strikes you, it might even strike you as odd, like, oh, normally I would be wearing shoes at this time. Oh well, and then you just keep on going.
yeah, a
I do
level of
pay attention.
acceptance.
Yes, I do pay attention sometimes to when things like that happen to me in real life. Like you're walking down the street and there's a woman who's dressed like a crab, and you
I was
see the woman
wondering where
dressed as
you
a
were going to go
crab,
with that.
and you're like, oh, what's this? And she's like, oh, it's part of a thing. I'm doing a book reading at the library, and it's about the happy crab, and so I'm dressed up like a crab. And you're like, okay, and then you buy that. Eventually, especially if you start like doing lucid dream training and stuff like that, eventually you see something like that, and you're like, okay, I know that this is real. I feel awake. I don't feel like, I can rub my hands together. I can read a book and look away and read again, and the pages don't change. I do all these different tests. This is reality. But that right there is something that normally would only happen to me in a dream.
Yeah.
That's that it's fun and it's weird and the
I've been
world
able
is
to
crazy.
do that a couple times. I like only very in limited sleep sessions have I been able to recognize that I was in a dream and affect it consciously.
Yeah,
Like
oftentimes
think,
you
I want a
remember
car here, so and then a car shows up. That kind of thing.
a lot of times you'll remember that you'll notice that you're dreaming and then forget again right away. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the craziest things. The one time I remember really really well that I was dreaming was I looked at a mirror and my face looked weird. I was like, that's not my face. Ah, I'm dreaming. And then that was good. Another
Yeah.
time I was driving my car and I was driving by a tree that had frisbees growing out of it, and the frisbees weren't ripe yet, and so they were really floppy. And I was like, well, that's weird. You would think that the frisbees would get floppy when they're overripe, rather than and that was enough to get me
Yeah.
out of the dream. So it's weird. But I honestly think as we get older, our brains get more sophisticated and we're able to um, trick ourselves with our dreams more. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just remember I used to have a lot of nightmares as a kid, and I don't have as many nightmares anymore.
I don't have any at all. I can't remember the last time I had a nightmare.
My nightmares now are no mostly social, like if that makes sense. Like I'm in uh, a meeting, and everybody at the meeting hates me, and no matter what I say, they just get madder at me.
Yeah.
Or like I said, normally I dreamt about you last night, Ben, and it was one of those situations where we had this thing that we were supposed to be doing, and I had slacked off and hadn't done my part, and you were mad at me, but also you weren't letting on that you were mad. You're like, you know what? It's fine.
Sounds
It's
that's
fine.
classic Ben.
We've got a show to do. Let's just do the show. You can
Yeah.
apologize to me again if it makes you feel better, but I don't mind that you didn't do it, but let's do it now. That sort of thing.
I I do have disturbing dreams, ones where you wake up and you're like, "Why the heck did I dream that?" A lot of
Ah,
them,
yes.
a lot of them are, I wouldn't call them nightmares, but sometimes like I violently kill people in my
Yeah,
dreams.
yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, yeah. And those are kind of night. Here's the thing. I don't know if it's the same thing for you or not, but they're nightmares after the fact. Like when you're doing it, for me, it's very workmanlike, very like I'm trying to smash this person's head,
Why won't
and
you die?
the thing that I'm smashing it against isn't good enough, so I'm trying to find something else to smash their head with.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, that's horrible. But in the
Yeah.
dream, it's more like, okay, let's get this done. How are we gonna do this thing?
Yeah. This is another thing I gotta do.
Yep, exactly. I do often think about that like a real a, so- but like my adoptive father George, like he's sort of where I what I think a serial killer would actually be like, well, now I'm going to dig the hole, now I'm going to do this. I'm sure that Jennifer were here, she would tell me incorrect, but that's how I imagine it. Like, because me, if I were to kill someone and then have to take the bus away from the crime scene because I couldn't figure out how to park, or
Yeah.
just my general incompetence would make me a bad serial killer.
I think
I feel like.
that's the nightmare part of the dreams is not the actual committing of the crime, but knowing, oh, I have to deal or hide from the consequences now.
Yeah.
This is a
That's
thing that I have to live with.
now think about that, right? Quantum leap, except you're always leaping into people who've just committed crimes. That's not bad, actually. That would be, oh, oh, Ben, that's a good show. That's an actual, like it'd be a martial arts action film type show. Are you looking up Quantum Leap but evil?
No.
Okay.
writing down the show notes.
Ah. But yeah, I mean that's something that I think would be good. I guess Altered Carbon is sort of like it, but not really.
Haven't
Um,
seen it.
it's all right. It's all right. I started watching season 2, but then I got into other shows. But it's sort of like a Doctor Who kind of thing in that the main character can change because he's got like if this makes sense, his consciousness is on a thing and he can
Okay.
shove this thing into other bodies, basically. And so
Violently
different
and
actors can,
forcefully.
yeah,
I saw.
constantly, over and over again.
Just relax. I'm shoving my soul into you.
Geez, Ben, no, somebody's gonna clip that. Somebody's gonna clip that, and that'll be the only audio that survives.
That's what they're going to use to train the AI on our personalities.
Exactly. I figured out, Ben, that we could probably, within a year's time, if we wanted to, we could feed an AI all of these podcasts and just have it make a podcast for us doing both
Yeah.
voices.
Then we wouldn't have to do this anymore.
Maybe it already is. Oh, Ben, but I like doing this. It's fun. But that would be funny if we have had been doing this for the past like 10 episodes and nobody knows.
Yeah, maybe this
No,
podcast is an
why
AI
does
generated
Paul keep
podcast.
talking about AI art all the time? Why
It's
is he
the
so
AI
interested in AI
trying to
stuff?
gain consciousness. It's like I know there's
Exactly.
something there. It's just
Hey,
scratching
do you
its
know
way into the reality.
about Lily's solid state um, AI thing?
Nope.
This is Lily. I forget what his first name is now. Is it just John? It might just be John. He's the
Eli.
guy who gave the dolphin LSD and tried to talk to it and had it live with the lady. You remember all that stuff?
Is it something that you brought up previously? Because I do not
Oh,
recall it.
it's in the news. Echo as well. The Earth something coincidence or anyway. He's a scientist contemporary of Timothy Leary, psychologist. Did a bunch of he was the one who
James
popularized the
Lilly.
use of sensory deprivation tanks.
James Lilly.
Ah, yes. Hey, look up Lily Echo, ECCO. What does Echo stand for?
By the way, Steven's with us. Say hi to Steven.
Hey, Steven. Oh, hey, Steven, in the chat, do you know about the Copilot lawsuit that is going on for the
Echo Lily.
code that was taken off of GitHub to help train Copilot? Because I invoked you as someone who might have heard about it.
John Lilly, not James.
John
John
Lilly. I
Lilly.
said John. Hey, I did it. But what is Echo? ECCO.
Well, now that I know the proper first name.
Yeah.
ECCO.
Yep.
Uh,
It's Earth
Oh my
something.
God.
You can look up Echo and coincidence, I think, would also work.
Human brain and the mind. Oh my God, this page is right out of GeoCities from 1993.
Ah.
There's apparently a CD.
You're thinking
Earth Coincidence
Yeah.
Control Office.
Earth Coincidence Control Office. Yeah. So the basic idea is that there's a regional office for Earth that controls coincidences, and that was one of Lily's things. When he was on a whole bunch of ketamine, they made his penis disappear. I want to say something to that effect. Yeah, he was a weird guy. Anyway, but the point was, if you look up John Lilly solid state entity, I believe it is, he thought that all of the computing systems and power systems on Earth could eventually and may have already formed their own consciousness. That's without, because all the millions of those things do make a nervous system. And so the idea was that, we're waiting for someone to create a sentient AI in the lab. His suggestion is that it might already exist. We might have already created it just by laying down all of our cables and our switches and computing systems.
Yeah, we've created an infrastructure.
Did Steven write in the chat at all regarding whether or not he had heard about?
Yes, he says the defense being that GitHub was intended to train neural networks regardless of substrate.
So they from my understanding, they're trying to get the lawsuit dismissed. I don't know if it already has been dismissed or what. But anyway, yeah. Depending on how that goes, there are people who are watching it very closely.
Yeah.
To see whether or not they need to worry. And the answer is, of course, you don't need to worry. Alfred E. Newman.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Apparently, Alfred E. Newman, I didn't realize this, was a stereotype of Irish people. That's what Cracked said. So,
Cracked, the Mad's competitor for a time, was trying to lay the groundwork that Mad's mascot was racially insensitive.
That is correct. And the whole "what me worry" kind of thing is kind of about the Irish being happy-go-lucky and whatnot. I don't know how true it is.
Steven says you very definitely need to worry.
Yes. And I do worry often, Ben. And then we come here and do. Oh shoot! I thought this would be a good place for a dismount. We got about 5 minutes left, though.
Who knew that North Korea was going to be the one to strike first in terms of nuclear weapons? They haven't. I'm not saying that they have, but we're all looking at Russia and their nuclear arsenal, and North Korea's over there going, "Hey, we're here too."
That's too bad. China, I think, is is upping their arsenal as well.
I just saw like a headline that said that. So
So that's China
yay!
going, "Oh yeah, we're also here. Hey,
Don't forget us.
yeah. Ooh, China could be reached by a North Korean missile, couldn't it?
Yeah,
They would never. Why would they? I ask you. But yeah, I I'm just happy that Ben, uh, you and I got all that training of being afraid of dying in a
all I
nuclear
gotta do is just hide under my
war.
desk in the case of
Yep,
an atomic
exactly.
bomb.
That's
Who
right.
knows where you
Or
hide
an
if a
earthquake.
nuclear bomb? Yeah, or an earthquake.
I wonder. They say eggs are strong. Uh, I wonder if building a little egg structure for you to hide in
Out
during
of eggs. Oh wait, no.
a crazy also salmonella being a problem with eggs because of the shells of our eggs being thin, something to that effect. Sort of crazy. But
They found
anyhow,
microplastics in the deep water beneath Antarctica, so you know we're doing a good job of maintaining Mother
wow.
Earth. Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
there's
Well, microplastics were maybe here all. Oh, Earth plus plastic, Ben. We know about it.
here's a question posed to us from Steven in the chat.
Oh, sure. This is great.
If America should trade Taiwan for a unified Korea. Now we know that
Um,
uh, that
as far as I know, Taiwan is not really beholden to Korea in any way.
no, but if we give the Taiwanese our assumption of Taiwanese independence to China, if that'll create a unified Korea in some way. I'm not quite sure the connection there, but I think China has
I'm
something over the control of a unified Korea in some way.
I'm just gonna say that having family friends who are from Taiwan, my guess is that the Taiwanese people would not
No, they're very
like
much
that,
against it. Yeah.
and so I kind of think that deal
But
sounds bad.
if America intervenes in a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, like would we want that to start a war?
Well, Ben, the one thing you have to remember is, of course, that the true rulers of China reside in Taiwan. I I I just I just I just know that is a problem. I'm not sure if we are ready for the podcast to come down with a hard stance one way or the other on international politics as it deals with China. We already recognize Tibet though, so I mean that's one thing. Tilda Swinton, famously cast as the Ancient One, so that Doctor Strange could get overseas viewing in China.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy.
There was a lot of to do recently about how people like Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese, not so
Yeah.
recently, but Tarantino was like Marvel action movies aren't movies. I'd never do one. The people who act in them aren't actors, and a lot of people came to the defense, oddly enough, of Disney and the defense of Marvel movies and superhero movies. And then other people started saying, "Well, you're defending Disney, who like hired Henry Kissinger to promise China that a movie wouldn't be released at all." I believe it was a Scorsese movie. I can't remember which one, but
Wow.
maybe that's
Here's
why
what I would
Martin
say
Scorsese
is
doesn't like Marvel movies.
um someone someone was talking about this in the indie RPG forums for because he worked for Disney a couple times and all that. And he said that some of what Tarantino said, and I'm paraphrasing here, paraphrasing him, paraphrasing Tarantino, so whatever. Um, that the directors who are directing the movies aren't doing the job that a director normally does. They have studio executive, like one of the things that the person mentioned was that the the software uh, component of the CGI of some of the fights and stuff like that have already been done by the time the director comes on set. So
Right.
a lot of the fights have already been done, and so there's a lot of thing where you're just basically an administrator, and the movies are being made by committee and all that.
Sounds like it's more like if a director on an established television show, where you're not.
That
It's not
that's
so much a
exactly
director's.
that's absolutely what they said. The
Yeah.
exact same thing. But I will say, a Taika Waititi Marvel movie feels different in my mind than a
Ragnarok was
lot of
great.
the other
I
ones.
actually have not seen Love and Thunder yet.
I like Love and Thunder. I felt like I needed to like it because so many people didn't,
Yeah, it didn't get a lot of good buzz.
and so I went in going, okay, I'm gonna try to watch this as though I hadn't seen, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. I thought it was uh, people don't people don't like women
Well,
in
speaking of
general.
women, speaking of things that we like, that I like, I've started watching the TV show Dead to Me on Netflix, starring Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini, and I am enjoying the f out of it. Check out Dead to Me on Netflix.
Can you tell me what sort of genre it is?
It is what sort of genre does it fall in? It's a relationship comedy.
Okay.
Where and this isn't a spoiler for the show. This is basically they tell you this in the preview. Christina Applegate's husband dies in a hit and run accident. And so she and Linda Cardellini are like on the hunt for the person who killed Christina Applegate's character's husband.
Oh,
And so it's very funny. I mean, it's it's very funny at times, but it's also like very heartfelt and troubling at other moments. So it's a fun. And a friend of mine who also watched it put it in a good way. It's like their characters are two strong female characters who bond, and it's not about like over a guy.
yeah.
They're very much this
It's over the
developing
murder of a
relationship.
guy.
It's over the murder. Well, yeah, it kind of is. So yeah, Steven says Dead to Me is great +1. So yeah, I've just started
Oh, okay,
season 2.
cool. Well, I might look into that then. What I'm watching mostly, just so that we get this on the table, is
Equal time.
Actually, which is on Dropout. It is a game show, and the basics of the game show is that the contestants are given a statement about a property, like a Marvel movie or a Doctor Who episode or a comic book or whatever, and there's something wrong in the statement, and you have to pick out what's wrong in the statement and say, and just like Jeopardy rules, you have to say actually, and then
Yeah.
the real thing, and it's great. It hits my buttons.
Where is this streaming?
Dropout.
Dropout. What the heck is Dropout?
Dropout is College Humor's streaming service, and I'll tell you, Ben, I it is my demographic. I love it so much.
Is it
I'm not
another
in the right
GD
age
app I have to
range.
download?
It is actually a
Actually.
there is an app for it, yes, and it is a paid thing. You have to subscribe in order to watch. Dimension 20 is something that you've heard me talk about on this podcast often, as well as Game Changer. But actually now is my new thing that I like watching on that show.
All right.
So,
Well,
but I
and
will
with that,
Dead to Me. I will mention it to Jennifer as well.
yeah.
All right.
I
With
think
that, yeah, we've gone over time.
uh,
Which
I
is
don't know
fine.
I don't know if Betty would enjoy it, but it's definitely something that is appropriate for a tween
Oh,
or a
okay,
full
yeah.
teenager.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but she doesn't really watch TV.
Ah, okay.
She watches JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I think that's it. Everything else is just short 5 minute clips or
On Quibi.
3 hour long YouTube video. I mean,
It
it's
runs the
just
gamut, as one might
commercial
say.
TV just doesn't do it for her. Anyway, I
Anyway,
will talk to you more later, Ben.
yep. Bye,
Have a
Paul.
good one.
In the meantime, keep
Oh,
it wrong.
also keep it wrong. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Ah,
Don't
I got
forget
the
that.
tagline in there eventually.
Yay.